Hey guys, it's Tom at Service Nation, and we're here in Charlotte at the Eastern Summit. It's going fantastic, and I was very excited to be able to get and pin down Tracie Harper with Daffin Cooling and Heating. Not only is she an amazing sales manager, she's also a fantastic premier coach for Service Nation. And so you guys are in for a treat because you're going to see why she's helping us change contractors' lives for the better. So that being said, Tracie,
Yes, sir.
all right. Have you always been in the trades? Were you always a sales comfort consultant, manager? How did you get into the business?
Actually, no, I was not always in the trades. I'm not married to or related to anybody in the trades. I was pretty much my entire adult life in sales and had had some success in it. A long stint of selling radio advertising and then low voltage wiring and pre-wiring houses and just a variety of things, but I loved sales. In 2008, you called me
Me.
and said, let's have lunch.
Yes.
And at that time, we were friends from church, and Daffin took care of my air conditioning needs, and I took care of your security needs.
That's
those
right.
security systems and camera systems.
That's right.
So we were mutual friends and customers, and you talked me into going into this crazy business.
Best decision I made.
Best decision I ever made. I never dreamed. At the time, I was 45, so not young, not a male, and not somebody that grew up in the business. So it was a big leap of faith on your part and mine, but we made it through.
We made it happen.
We made it
We
happen.
made it happen. And I remember, Tracie, years ago, you did a breakout session for Service Nation. You remember your first breakout session?
I did. I was so scared, so nervous.
And I was so glad you did that breakout session because it particularly was talking about how women can excel in the home service field.
Yes.
That women can do it. And there's a stigma on that. I don't know if women cannot. So, now we're years later. Speak a little bit about, your perspective in terms of can women do HVAC and be in the home service field? Can they do it?
Absolutely. In fact, I was just having at lunch this conversation, telling a young go-getter contractor that we've just met, find you a girl. I said, start out with a woman. And here's what's interesting about it, because when I first started, the assumption by a lot of people when they met me and I said what I did, or even customers, was I was married to you, which I said, no, I know his wife. She's delightful. It's not me. My father owned it. Had to be a Daffin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, for so long, I think it just wasn't a role that women wanted to do, but things have changed. And I am, by no stretch of the imagination, would I say I'm a feminist. You know my husband. I like the door held for me. I like to be treated like a lady, yes. Right? However, I've never been the type to sit in an office. And so I always liked outside sales. And what I found so unique about HVAC, and you may remember this, number one, after years of selling things, cold calling and door knocking, to actually be selling something someone needed and had to do and wanted, well, they never want to spend the money, but they want air conditioning in Texas, right? So they needed and wanted something. I told you, this is the greatest sales job I've ever had, to go out and see that. But what I found with the customers, because in residential services, it's so intimate and personal.
Yeah.
One, they seem to relax and trust me very quickly.
Guard comes down.
The guard came down. I mean, I could sometimes even physically see it when they opened the door and they saw this middle-aged woman and said, oh, you're Tracie, that they would just relax.
Yeah.
Which allowed, and we all do that. We all put on the defenses. It's the reason we go to a Best Buy to buy a TV, but when the salesman approaches, we say we're just looking.
Yeah.
that's a reflex, and people do that in their home too. So I think the trust, it's been such a privilege. I mean, I've had customers cry with me, hug me, as you know. Lots of customers hug me and thank me, pray with me, which has been, I never dreamed any of that would happen selling somebody a heating and air conditioning system. It's also just been just rewarding to kind of succeed in what's considered a man's field.
Right.
You know, I'm a pretty confident person, and when I started, as you know, I didn't even know where to put my filter. You had to teach me everything about the AC world, but and once they knew that I was competent in that too, so even the men sometimes would have a, they're sitting back. Let's see what she knows.
Yeah.
But I had good teachers and was able to explain the workings and the details, and the credibility was there. And now, 15 years later, I have a lot of repeat business. It's just been a phenomenal career that I never would have dreamed I would be in it at this stage of my life.
Right.
But I'm super grateful.
Awesome.
And I recommend the trades. I mean, it's just an office or administrative type job, or I'm not a computer programmer. Everyone that works with me would tell you that I'm tech ignorant. But I love people, and I love being able to help them in the home. And as a woman, I think it's just worked out great. So I would encourage any women out there that if you'd like to do something a little different, but also real fulfilling, that the trades are a great place to look.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So for the comfort consultants that may be watching the podcast,
okay,
over the years, you just got better and better and better and better as a comfort consultant. Okay. Any pro tips that come to mind that words of encouragement in terms of how can I keep getting better at my trade like you did? Anything that comes to mind?
Well, one thing that I experienced is, if you're having success at it and you're rocking along, and you're, you need to be reading, you need to be listening to podcasts, you need to find a mentor. One of the things I love about sales, and for all of our contractor friends, this is a compliment, not an insult. I have never wanted to own my own business. I'm so grateful there are people who want to, like you did, and like so many of our friends.
Yeah.
But a salesperson can basically have their own business, their own brand, within the safety net of someone else having the liability.
Right.
I don't have to worry about workman's comp expense, or that half the office is out because pink eye went through the daycare.
Mm-hmm.
And when I want a raise, I just get better at what I do. So I have a lot of control over that.
Yes.
And so over the years, I would have, obviously there was a learning curve. I had been successful in sales, but not in this industry.
Yeah.
So there was a learning curve, and I had a great coach, thank you, and a great teacher. But as I got confident in that, I just tried to learn more. I tried to listen more. I tried to ask people that were doing better than me, what are you doing? And then over the years, there'd be a little tipping point. So maybe I'm just rocking along, and this is my average ticket, and this is my closing rate, and this is the amount I'm generating in revenue, and it's all good. You're happy, I'm happy, everybody's happy. But I want to get to the next level.
Yeah.
I would evaluate and just try something new. You will remember the year I got excited about inverters.
Oh, best thing ever.
So can I tell that story real quick? Okay.
Tell it.
So we had inverters in our lineup.
Right.
They were very high end, high efficiency, and the most expensive thing we sold. And although I wasn't really scared of pricing, I didn't see, for a few SEER rating higher, the benefit for every customer.
Yeah.
Until we had, so for a year, I hadn't sold that. And then we're getting a new line of inverters. Mm-hmm. And that rep came out to train the techs. And provide lunch. And they're like, Tracy, come out to the parking lot. You can get free lunch and you can look at this inverter. And I'm like, okay, I'm going for the free lunch. So I go out there and he had a cutaway running inverter.
Right.
And I stood over it and couldn't hear it running. And I got to talking to him, and he really started talking to me about the other features and benefits of an inverter. Better dehumidification, quieter, longer run times. For instance, if you had an air purifier or higher end media filter, they're not doing anything if the system's off. He started talking to me about the benefits to the customer, which I really had not gotten before. So I kind of got interested. He gave me some literature. I went home that night and watched every YouTube video I could find on inverters. And then started creating how Tracy would explain it to the customer. Mm-hmm. That you know, because sometimes you go to people, and this is another pro tip. You got to learn to not talk about SEER rating all the time. Right. Number one, your competitors are going to, and you want to differentiate yourself. It's not about the SEER rating, it's about what the customer needs and wants in their home. So for instance, in Texas, we're having a lot of folks move to our neighborhoods in Granbury from California. Mm-hmm. If I ask you, and you're from California, if you think your utility bill's high, you're like, no, man, it's fantastic because you just came from California. Yeah. If I ask someone that's lived 30 years in my hometown, do you think the utility rates are high? They're going, oh my gosh, they've gone sky high.
Exactly.
So to preach to someone about this equipment that can cut your utility bill when they don't think their bill's high, it rules out that equipment for them. So, but when I can say, well, do you have issues with humidity? Mm-hmm. I noticed that outdoor unit was outside your bedroom. Does that wake you up at night when it kicks on? Oh, heck yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So I just got excited about the other possibilities. Then I put one in my house and I said, I have this at my house. And you remember, it's like everyone bought an inverter. My husband named it the year of the inverter. And my sales topped. I mean, went higher than you and I ever dreamed because I just got excited about it. So what I would challenge you is to find something to change a little bit. Same thing happened for me on another year where I got out of my own head about why people don't need to finance.
Right, I remember that. I remember that.
You and I were Dave Ramsey believers, and I never wanted to be someone to encourage somebody to get into debt. So if they said I have $10,000 cash, I kept their options in that because they said they didn't want to finance. But it was at a Service Nation event, so
hey.
I just want to give that plug. You can hear stuff a million ways, a million times, and you not be open to it not resonate with you.
Yeah.
But eventually, something will get through. And I was at a Service Nation event. This presenter did a fantastic job about talking in monthly payments instead of total investment, and how most of America views a payment of $200 or less as nothing, like their cell phone or their dish network. Right. It's not a real bill.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just got over it and said, you know, here I've been training and preaching to people, don't pick for them, but I was picking for my customer to pay cash.
Yeah.
And I started revamped kind of the way I talked to the customer about it, got a way I was comfortable, and I committed to myself that year, I'm going to offer financing on every job. And what I found is they bought the system they wanted, not the one they could write a check for. So my average ticket went up.
Golden.
Yeah. So what I would tell you is, even if you've been doing, if you haven't been doing this a long time, just absorb everything you can.
Nice.
Come to these events, get a mentor, get some coaching, listen to podcasts, read. There's so many resources. If you have been doing it a long time, when you start feeling like, well, maybe I've topped out. No, you haven't. Mm-hmm. You need to find something to change just a little bit, and you're going to be amazed at what you can achieve that you didn't even know was out there for you.
And that is a good segue to your current role, because over time you moved from being a comfort consultant to being a comfort manager, a sales manager.
Yes.
So for the sales managers that are out there,
Yes.
any pro tips you would give them on what makes for a good sales manager, what makes them effective, what causes their team to do better, perform better?
Oh my gosh, I have learned so much in this area, but just to try to give you a few little pieces that you could take away. Number one, I have the benefit of in my heart, I am a salesperson. You can call it a comfort advisor or equipment specialist, but I am proud to say I'm a professional and skilled salesperson. So what's been nice for me, and some of people may have this benefit if you came from sales, is don't forget what they're going through. I know when they need their butts kicked, and I know when they need some love. I know when they're down on themselves because I can remember what it felt like to go on 5 calls and not sell them.
Yeah, yeah,
And I know what it's like to get on a roll and think I'm all that and need to be brought down a notch or two. So I have enjoyed that part. What I would say is salespeople, really great salespeople, and they can be any profile, they can be any age, they can be male, female, young, old. Um, they can be a little bit chunky. They can get in the attic in Texas. That's all we know. They can be skinny. It doesn't matter. But if they're really driven and they're really successful, they almost always need to, and I think all people do, need to feel valued.
Yeah.
So the thing I would say is you can't look at them as just a producer or just a commodity. In fact, when I'm training with sales managers, one pro tip I give them is do not tolerate the hired gun mentality, the contract worker. If you have a commissioned salesperson, what they sometimes feel like they get to do is come in when we need them, make their sale, make their money, and go home.
Yeah.
We won't mention any names, but at one point I worked with a salesperson as a peer that was with us 2 years and still didn't know our installers' names.
Yeah.
That, you want to talk about a disconnect. Your salespeople need to be made to feel part of the team, know their role in the company or organization. Quite frequently, the salespeople are looked to as leaders, whether they really were looking for that role or not.
Yeah.
Because they're a little bit different than the hourly CSRs, and they're different than a service tech, and they're different than an installer. So you need to be pouring some leadership skills and some growth into them, that they're the kind of people that can help lead the rest of your team. And they do that by being engaged and being part of the family. So I would pro tip, if you've got a guy or girl that just comes in, runs their call, turns in their paperwork, and picks up their commission check, shame on you. You need to fix that. You've allowed that. So that's one thing right there that I would guard against.
Very good.
Also, I would say if you're looking for salespeople, do not limit yourself to think they have to have HVAC experience or plumbing experience or electrical experience.
So true.
That is not in fact, that's way down my list of things I look for in a candidate.
Nice.
Way down.
Love it. So. All right, a few more questions.
Okay.
This is good. This is good stuff. Okay. So over time, you started coaching.
Yes.
You started coaching other comfort advisors. You started coaching other owners in terms of sales. Okay. And so Tracie's part of our premier coaching team. So if you want to take your sales to the next level, sales management to the next level, and in addition to that, one of the things that she's also real good is increasing the service tech's performances in terms of lead turnover. Yes. So talk a little bit about how you're able to work your magic with technicians.
Yes.
How do you do that?
Technicians are a whole different breed, and I love them both. Sales have their own personalities and characteristics, and technicians are something else, but I love them. I've had the opportunity in our company and with some other companies to work on their ability to communicate effectively with the customer. So when I say that, techs are wired to fix stuff. That's what they want to do. That's what the customer expects. They want to come in, they want to hear the problem, fix the problem, and go. But I'm able to work with them a little bit on the mindset and psychology of, are you really doing the customer a favor when you allow them to continue to pour money into antiquated equipment or stuff that's out of warranty? Are we making decisions again for our customer based on limited information or what we would do?
Yeah.
When it really needs to be their choice. So I work a lot with them on dialogue of how to open those doors and say, Mr. Peregrino, we could repair this for X amount of dollars. In my opinion, that's a lot of money to put in a 12-year-old piece of equipment. You don't have warranty. There's a lot more efficient stuff. Before you do that, you might want to look at your other options, and I can get somebody out here. So what I would, if you're listening to this and working with your techs, the thing I tell them is, I don't want them to sell equipment. I want them to ask the customer, would you like to know all your options before you do a repair?
Yeah.
And then we will come talk to them about equipment. I also have had the privilege of doing some coaching with selling techs.
Ah, that's right.
So, a lot of business models don't have dedicated salespeople. They have their techs do it.
Right.
Which that's a lot of fun because they literally, I have an exercise where I tell them to go out to the truck and change their hat. Because one minute they were a technician, but when the customer says, yes, I would like to know more about my options. Well, let me put this equipment up and I can go over with you, and we move into a whole different role. So that's been challenging for me to kind of put myself in their shoes and find a way to adapt a process I'm real comfortable with as a standalone sales call to a converted service call.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of fun too.
Love it. Love it. Last question.
Okay.
Last question. So you're presenting this week.
Yes.
Okay. So talk a little bit about, if you're not able to make the Charlotte Summit, hopefully you'll be at the Reno Summit, and, you can hear what she's going to cover. But share a little bit about what you plan on covering, what you hope to accomplish. What are some of the takeaways when you do your workshop this week?
So I'm super excited about this, but I've got about 2 days worth of material I'm going to cram into an hour and a half. So it's a mini version, but I love the format of the summits where they are workshops, not breakout sessions. So they're an hour and a half long. They're going to be interactive, and I'm going to break down into 4 steps. And we have a little worksheet. We're going to kind of workshop it together, what that looks like, how to hire. So my workshop is on building a sales team that delivers, a winning sales team that delivers. So we're going to talk about how to hire the right people, how to coach the right people, how to hold them accountable, and how to retain the best people. And what your part, if you're a manager or an owner, is in that, and what to be looking for. I'm going to give some pro tips on, don't do this. You know me, I don't know any other way to be but straight. I'm an open book. And I love to tell everybody I've already done everything wrong. So just learn. It's like parenting. Learn from my mistakes, and you can fast track some of this. So I'd love to see a big turnout in Reno, because I think it could simplify for people what seems like an overwhelming task to find a good salesperson.
Well said. Well said. Tracie, thank you so much
Tom,
for taking the time out and sharing a whole bunch of golden nuggets to our viewers and our audience. And I hope this encourages those that aren't here to come to Reno and see her, meet her in person, and see why she's been a game changer at Daffin Cooling and Heating, game changer within Service Nation as a premier coach. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
See you in Reno.